Oh yeah, this actually just came into this morning. Let's have a listen to this because this has got my boy Pierre, who again I when it comes to Pierre, a lot of there are some skeptics who question where he comes from. I question everything about politics and politicians. I don't trust any politician. I think they all have the capacity to be bought out. That's why they get into politics. That's why I think people like Trump are a little bit more trustworthy, because they have, as they say, they haven't been poisoned and tainted by the swamp throughout the process. You don't get anywhere apparently in politics unless you're willing to do the bidding of certain people. But we have this post from the True North, which is a Canadian page channel. They have a YouTube channel as well. They're pretty good. It says, I have no time for people who lie to come into our country. Pierre Poilievre calls for a cap on asylum seekers to crack down on false refugee claims. I mean, isn't that a no-brainer? Shouldn't we have done that a long time ago? I mean, it doesn't make any sense as to why that's not the case. I mean, anything that has been passed in our country has been passed for one reason and one reason only. And you can look at the UK, you can look at Australia. It's all the same across the board. It's all the same. The only country in the world that doesn't have the equal side effect of what's been going on with the pandemic and the economy and all that kind of stuff is the US. And the US, the reason why it exists and has the power that it does is because of the US Constitution. So let's take a look at this video here. I haven't actually listened to this in its entirety. It's only an hour old, this post, so we'll listen along. I don't know what copyright is with watching videos like this. I don't think that there is any copyright with politicians. I think they want this stuff to get out. So I'll play the video in its entirety. I might stop it to, if I hear something that needs to be sort of clarified or mentioned. But here we go.
About asylum seekers, the number of asylum seekers has essentially tripled over the last 7 years. We're up to 130,000, on pace for more this year. The number of resettled refugees has also doubled. Is it time for a hard cap on the number of asylum seekers and refugees, and what's an acceptable number to you?
I think it is time for a cap, and it's time to get rid of all of the abuse. One of the problems we have now is that Trudeau got rid of the visa requirement for Mexico and basically allowed thousands of people to come here who are not refugees, who are ultimately rejected as refugees, but only after many years of us paying their bills and funding their legal cases and paying for the bureaucracy of treating their case. We need to shut off the flow of false refugee claims who are in no danger in their country of origin, but who are sneaking in either through our porous border, through our weak visa system, and then when they land here, making a false claim. And by the way, I'm not accusing them of making false claims. The refugee board ultimately finds those claims are false. But in the interim period, we're stuck with the false claimant for 5, 6, 7 years. And this is putting enormous strain on our housing market, our healthcare system, and our job market, where our Canadian jobs are being taken by black market, under the table workers that take cash and ultimately deprive our people of jobs. Now, I have real refugees. I love real refugees. Our country was built in large part by real refugees who were genuinely fleeing danger, like my wife. But I have no time for people who lie to come into our country, and that is the problem we have to cut off. And when we do, we can get back to the normal levels of refugee counts that we had before Justin Trudeau, the numbers that we can absorb, care for, and employ. And that's what we will do when I'm Prime Minister.
Well, I mean, it seems like all no-brainer stuff to me. I mean, there's this part of me that has, your heart goes out to people who need to get away from terrible places. I mean, of course. I mean, the problem is we've let so many people in that we can't even let them in anymore. And that's such a shame. That's such a shame. I mean, that's a crime on its own. And that on its own, Trudeau should be, whipped in front of an audience. I mean, let's bring back lashes. Let's bring back lashes. Like, that guy needs a lashing. He's prevented potentially tens of thousands of people who really need asylum from now being able to get in here because we can't have it. We can't. There's nowhere for them to go. Our rents are out of control, and it's not going to get any better if we keep bombarding the system with people who need fucking homes. I mean, you got Canadians living with their families and unable to move into their own places because, you got these young people who are graduating high school and universities. I mean, what are they going to get paid? Right? I mean, they're only going to get paid minimum wage and then plus a few bucks here and there. And that's not enough to exist in this economy anymore. I mean, it's not even close to enough. You need bare minimum, like for a couple. I mean, my son and his girlfriend, they're doing quite well, actually. They're saving money and managing to build a life for themselves. But there's no way they could afford to buy a home anytime soon. It's for them to save enough money. A lot of stuff is going to have to happen in our country for even their savings to actually be able to do anything. I mean, we got to bring this inflation down. We got to bring the housing costs, or at least stop the cost of rent and housing going up, and try and get these wages back up. Because, I mean, as a hairstylist, I've been charging the same price for close to 10 years. I mean, I started charging $40 for a men's cut probably in 2010, and I still charge $40 for a men's cut, and that's Canadian. My prices slightly went up for color services with my female clientele, but it sort of basically stopped at around $300, $350 for, a 4 or 5 hour job. And it's not going up. I mean, I've done everything to try and get people back in my chair, to offer deals, discounts, all sorts of different things. And it ended up just costing me money because the people that were going to come came anyway. And I ended up having to just give them discounts when they were willing to pay full price. So we got to figure out a way to get this, these wages up. I don't even know where to begin with that. That's not my area. But yeah, it's a real shame that now we have to really do a cap on the immigration because, again, I mean, that's how countries were in the West were built, right? Was immigration. The U.S. was built on people fleeing to the U.S. The U.S. was created because people were fleeing the U.K. due to the persecution of Protestants. Protestants were being persecuted, and so they fled to the U.S. to build a life in a nation that would allow them to be Protestants. And now, people can't come into these countries, and that just sort of, it seems wrong. It seems, and it feels wrong because that's not, I mean, freedom of movement, right? Like, freedom of movement is to go anywhere you want. Why are we not allowed to move into, these different countries? But at the same time, I mean, you can't move into somebody's house, right? You can't move into, hey, I'm going to move into your house. Hope that's okay. No, that doesn't work that way. You can't do that, man. I should be allowed to go where I want. Freedom of movement. That is law. But yeah, rambling again. What is The View saying? What are these vipers saying? Look at these guys. Look, she's such a, she is just such a vile looking creature, hey? The Predator over here. Let's take a look at what the Predator has to say. I'm not sure what I'm sure they don't have, there's copyright stuff on here, so I'll probably have to pause every fucking few seconds here, but let's have a listen.
Understand. Listen, I get it. I mean, we got a convicted felon as president.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's hard for me to.
Yes,
A convicted felon. I don't think he's a convicted felon, is he? Technically, no. Right. Now? Oh no! Wait! Because he got convicted for the tax thing, right? Okay, so that was conviction. But anybody who actually knows the system, which was Kevin O'Leary, Canadian guy, Shark Tank, you guys all know who he is. He went on CNN and just destroyed this whole verdict against Trump. Because apparently Trump basically got charged for jaywalking in, the developer sphere. Kevin O'Leary came on CNN and said, "You are charging him for a crime that everybody does. Everybody under the sun does this crime. It's no different than jaywalking for the average person." And they went after Trump because they could, because they found a loophole. And you got to wonder if this is what they do with these kinds of things. They just let a lot of these things happen because then they can pick and choose who they want to go after. So her talking about him being a convicted felon, that is the one conviction that is true, but at the same time is not. You know what I mean? And then the other conviction is to do with this rape charge or whatever. And that, again, was a conviction found in civil court. And civil court is very different. It's not criminal. You don't need the jury to have 100% of it to convict. You need 51% of the jury to convict. So that just means more than half the jury has to agree that the person did what they said, what the prosecution is saying they did. And in Trump's case, that's the way it was. So he was found liable, not criminal charges. So let's continue listening to these vipers.
And I know that you know who's been asking, are you going to pardon the January 6th folks? Actually, probably not, but...
Okay, so I guess she's talking about, I don't know if I skipped it at the beginning because I didn't really even know what she was talking about at the beginning. This is in reference, I believe, to Hunter Biden being pardoned.
I kind of feel like I look at the list of folks that who pardoned during the first term. He granted 237 acts of clemency, 143 pardons, and 94 commutations, including Michael Flynn, Roger Stone, Paul Manafort, Charles Kushner.
Again, going to pause real quick for copyright reasons, but I'll say this. You got to wonder, does she really believe what she says? Does she really believe it? These are actors and actresses, right? Whoopi is one of the greatest actresses that's ever lived. I mean, don't get that twisted. Whoopi Goldberg is one of the greatest actresses that's ever lived. She is incredible. You can watch all her work. Go back to the 90s. I loved Whoopi Goldberg movies. I mean, who didn't? Sister Act, one of the greatest funny movies ever made. Sister Act 2 was terrible, but for some reason I really loved it as a kid. But Whoopi, I mean, come on. You don't think for a second that this woman signed a contract that said, you work for such and such a company, you will say and do what you're told, you will play the part, So she wakes up every morning, she puts her character on, she gets on camera, and she plays her character. She plays her part. Because when you go back to, and Joe Rogan's talked about this, when you go back to Trump's campaign run during the first election in 2015 and 2016, when he was, making his campaign for president, I believe he appeared on The View. Now, I don't know whether it was during the campaign but anyway, it was right before he was president. And he got a standing ovation. They were hugging and kissing him. Whoopi everybody loved him. And then now you got this. So what changed? Something changed. So I wonder sometimes if this person is just playing the part she knows she has to. I got a buddy who I invited on. I've actually invited a lot of people to come onto my podcast. It's not a very, I don't have a lot of actual episodes of my podcast. It's more just a channel now, because tell you, in Canada, it's really hard to get people to go public with their opinion. So I invited a buddy of mine on to talk on the channel, and he said, I can't, man. I work for TD. I can't. We're not allowed. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, yeah, I can't. I'll get in trouble. So if he can't appear on a podcast, you got to wonder, I mean, what kind of power do these corporations have over the people that they hire? So for all we know, this viper here, this predator, she could just be playing a part.
Steve Bannon, George Papadopoulos, Albert Pirro, and Lil Wayne.
Everybody.
I forgot about Lil Wayne.
Yeah. And Lil Wayne. So it is a president's prerogative. You know, people can say, oh, why are you doing that? But that's what presidents do every time. They do it every time they pardon somebody. So I'm not sure why the pearl clutching is happening now, except that that's what folks want to do. But it seems kind of foolish. You kind of knew he was going to do it, given all that's happened. But maybe I'm just kooky.
So I see this.
She ain't wrong. She ain't wrong. I mean, I can't say I'm mad at Biden for pardoning his kid. Like, who would want to? I mean, the idea of my kid being sent to prison, there's just no way. Anyway, I don't think we need to keep harping on about this subject. I did bookmark one thing about Jagmeet. Let's take a look at that. You got Jagmeet Singh here showing up getting dropped off to work or something in a Maserati. This vehicle is $130,000. Jagmeet Singh drives an, at minimum, $130,000 Maserati Levante. This guy complains about people having too much money day in and day out in the HOC. He is such a fraud. Is there any question to that? I mean, look at this fucking loser. Fucking dumb fucking... Like, come on. I'm all about standing up for your religion, but this guy has no fucking morals whatsoever. I don't believe this guy to be a religious guy in any capacity whatsoever. Perhaps I don't understand his religion, but I believe you need morals to have some type of, religious beliefs. And this guy clearly has no fucking morals. Getting dropped off in a Maserati. Oh man, that is just cringeworthy. You would think, as a politician in his position where he's being criticized for holding up an election so that he can, retain his $2 million pension, you would think that this guy would say to his wife or his family, hey, you know what, since the heat is on, perhaps we should downsize our vehicle. Go pick up a Volkswagen Golf. Go get a used Volkswagen Golf and let's drive around town and get seen in it for a while. But no, the fucking moron is in a Maserati. How can you be in a Maserati as a politician? I mean, yeah. Anyway, what a goof. I hope that we can get rid of this guy real fucking quick. Both of them. I mean, he's got to know. He's got to know his position is cooked too. Ron, don't you think? He's got to be cooked, right? Like the NDPs they're gonna vote him out. There's no way. There's just no way. Not with all the controversy, and that will be a happy day. That will be a happy day.